Okay, stream should be starting up soon. Just give it a second to go through. Looks like I have like 5 seconds of waiting from clicking the start streaming button to it actually streaming. So we'll see. I really don't want to start before. Sorry, I got distracted by watching the other screen. Sorry. I don't want to start before I start screaming, but whatever. Let's see. What should I do? Okay, so I want to start off by doing something new, which is to look at this Stack Overflow. This site called Stack Overflow. You may have heard of it. I can't believe the time existed before Stack Overflow was out there, but they have tags on WebdriverIO, and I look through them every once in a while just to see if I can help out here and there, and sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. But I wanted to kind of see if we can start covering some of these questions, just to, I don't know, talk through things and things like that. So, and to get your opinions, because sometimes in this answer, I answered this just a minute ago. I kind of would like to know your opinion on it, and that would be kind of fun to have it there in the chat. So if you do have an opinion, add a chat, send it in the chat and things like that. Otherwise, you could also, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, send me questions if you have any, and I could cover them as well in the live stream. But this question just asks that they want to override the click command. They want to wait until something happens before clicking. Probably they want to wait until an element is on the page and then click it. And so they want to just completely override the click command. And I would recommend that they just go with something like, basically do what they're doing with the add command, and then use the, name it wait then click. Don't try to override the default functionality, because that can create a bad documentation problem in the future. If somebody comes in, they're not familiar with your override, and they try to use the click command and it's waiting, and maybe an element isn't on the page or something like that. Things like that could cause some trouble. And so you do wait then click as your custom name, and then people would just have to know to use wait then click. But that's probably safer than just trying to override that. So that's what I would recommend. I'd love to know your thoughts on that as well, if you have any. But that's the only one I want to cover today, but I may look at some other ones later on. Last time we were looking at Spyfall, and we were writing a test on multi-remote and creating a game. So in it, we would have two different browsers. We had a host, and then we had a guest browser. And the host would go to the URL, start a new game, and then wait for things to exist. And then once that happens, they would allow the others to join. And in our configuration file, it was pretty simple. We had to go with an object here instead of an array. And we had defined our host and our guest in our browsers. One thing that I'm kind of curious is, with the way that we're writing these tests, they are written in a manner where this test should go first and then this test should go second. And I don't know how that, if I can rely on that as a pattern to follow, basically that this test will always go first. And so that's something that I need to look into, but don't have time to look into right now. I could just come in here and get rid of that second test, and then this is guaranteed to have the guaranteed to have everything execute in order. Sorry, it's been a long day. That's the problem with recording these at 5 p.m. My time, is that I've just kind of brain dead from the day, and but it is a good time because kids are at the babysitters and stuff like that. Anyway, okay. Next up is, so I'm gonna leave that. Let's see. So we were gonna look at creating a new test called should show Bob in list of names on the host browser, but I'm thinking about maybe making some page objects out of this just for the fun of it. Trying to figure out what would I prefer to do. Let's just write this test first. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that skip so it doesn't skip it, and then should show Bob in the list of names on the host browser. So Bob joined here. He set a value and he joined. And then here I should be able to say the host will expect, okay, variable is Bob there. And then we're going to do host dot is existing. And we'll pass in our text that we're looking for. So I need to go into this. I'll do a new game, and then Tom is my dude. And then we need a second person. So I'll open up a guest tab here. Whoops, to that page. And this is where Bob is going to join. So hi, Bob. Tom and Bob, they go way back back to high school and even college, and they're a lot of fun together. Anyway, so we got Bob here, and it's inside of an LI, so I probably want the lobby player list. So I'm going to say, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a text selector here, LI Bob. So that's looking for, oh, it says my mic cut out. That's not good. Oh boy, I wonder how long that's been going. Okay, give me a second to try and troubleshoot this. I thought I was doing good. Maybe it came back in. And then we're going to do host. Okay, sounds like it was just a side issue. That's always the fun of this. It was a monitor issue. I've had issues like that too, so no problem. I need a way. It's hard. Yeah, anything can go wrong with these, so that's just tough. Anyway, back to it. We were going to do a text selector, so we're going to look for an element, an LI element that has a text of Bob. And what's cool about this selector is if we jump into WebdriverIO, it's got some really neat, and we actually look at the element selector itself. It's got some really neat code to find that. So inside of here, there's these helpers, find element. I might have to jump into this file, but I basically just want to show off how it finds things. There are some default ways that it can find elements based off of Selenium, but if I remember correctly, there's also a couple of ways that WebdriverIO adds on top to find selectors. And I think, yeah, partial link text. Let's see. There's something in here where I'm pretty sure it does. Any element with a certain class or ID or has a certain content. So it looks to see if it has a class and ID plus certain content here. And from there, it will kind of build an XPath tag for you, which is pretty neat. And that way you don't have to write it, which is really nice because this looks pretty complex for us. There's also a way, let's see, get back over here. An element with a certain class or ID. So this is the one that we're going to be using. Is basically it's an element with a given content. So there's the equal sign, and there's the text content, and it builds that XPath for you. So I just wanted to mention that as kind of something nice about WebdriverIO is that it has all these helpers for you already built out. That makes it a little bit easier to define things, because otherwise you'd have to do a little bit more complicated of a search here instead of just being able to combine it. Yeah, so that's really neat. I think one thing with it, though, is that you can't do something like this, where you have a class name followed by a tag, basically anything with a space in it. And you could look in here just to double check, but I think that's the case because it doesn't have spaces in this. And so in order to do that, you can still get by chaining. So I'm going to say element, and then I'm going to look for that element. And then inside of there, I'm going to do the isExisting. And that's actually a recommended way on inside their selectors documentation, where they talk about chaining here, where you have your complex CSS selector, and then inside of it you have your text selector. And we got a question out there: is it possible to target sibling elements? And yes, it is. It just any sort of CSS selector. So you could say long player list plus, or let's see, we've got like a QR code container as a sibling of the class, or really the HR is a sibling of the class. So if we really wanted to be specific, we could say HR plus lobby player list, and that's how you would do a sibling selector. That's just a CSS selector type thing, and that is supported by Selenium. Selenium sibling CSS selector. So yeah, WebdriverIO is smart enough to know to search by the CSS selectors. I'm pretty sure this is a little bit of an assumption by my part, but I'm fairly certain that this is how it works. So here's the next sibling selector. But yeah, that's out there if you want it. And I really like that, and it's one of the bigger selling points for me on WebdriverIO, and maybe not WebdriverIO specifically, Selenium nowadays, is that you don't have to use XPath. I just didn't grow up in the days of XPath, so I mean I did grow up during that. I just wasn't in the testing world at that time, and barely am in the testing world now. But I just prefer CSS because that's what I was raised on, doing front end development. So anyway, what we're going to do there is get the element, the lobby player list element, and then check to see if an LI with the text of Bob is in it. And then from there, type the right characters. I will expect that is Bob there. To be true. And I'll save it, and let's see about running this. See if there was anything I needed to get set up for here. So this should pop up some browsers for us. So we've got two browsers. One here that goes, it creates the game. And then we're going to open our second one, which I don't think it's on the screen. Oh, yeah, it wasn't on the screen. It must have been hidden, but looks like it passed just fine. These are all our commands. So in here, we should have been able to see the element. So it's searching for the element. I think here is probably where it's searching for the element to find if it's there or not. So yeah, that's the test. And then we could add another one that says should allow host to remove Bob from game. So maybe Bob's just a jerk. You know, they had a big fallout, and Bob called Tom something mean, and so we need to check that we can get rid of Bob. So it's basically going to be the same thing here. The only thing is that get rid of that. I need to use the X on there, and it looks like a non-host can delete a host, which is kind of interesting. But there's this X mark here that we want to press. So let's see, we've got the button remove player is what we're going to use. We also have this ID, but this ID looks like it's uniquely generated, so we don't want to hook into that. So we're going to do host.click, and we'll click that, and that is a link. So it should work that when we click it. Oh, wow, I lost my game. Interesting. Host join. Looks like the game timed out because I didn't start it quickly enough. Okay, now when I click it, yeah, it removes it right away. We might want to do something where we do a wait until here, because maybe that that's going to send a HTTP, like an AJAX request across the wire, and that could be slow. In this case, it was really fast, but it could be a slow thing. So if I clear this out, just to show you kind of what went on in the background, I'll add Bob back to the game. He's persistent, but I should see when I click X. I wonder how that's handled. I was expecting something to pop up here showing that Bob was gone, but it might be like a sockets thing. That could have been what's going on. There's like a WebSockets thing going on, I think. Don't really know. Yeah. Here's that looks familiar. The sync thing. Something in there. Simple NTP. Okay. I don't know. That's above my pay grade. So that is how that works. Let's double check that this works. So now we're going to expect this to be false. And is Bob there to be false? Okay. And then you see how this code is repeated. We could probably move this out into a page object. So I think I'll do that with the remainder of the time we have, is try to get this into a page object, just to kind of review how that looks out there. So let's run this and see what goes on. Okay, now we can see the two browsers. There was just one. So there's the host. This is going to be Bob on this side. So it removed Bob, and then interesting. Host.click, expect is Bob there. That was interesting because you noticed when it clicked, it got rid of, it logged the host out of the game. I must be, maybe there's multiple removals. So when I click here, let's see, I'm clicking button remove player. These should be different sessions. So I'm going to search for button remove player. Okay, this is the only button remove player that we have. Why would it have done that? Host.click. When in doubt, we can debug, which is just fantastic. And to debug, I'm going to, let's see. See, I wonder if this ran before, if this test ran before this test ran. So the other thing I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to skip the debug for now. I'm just going to come in and the fun way, which is throw a console log in there. Bob is there. And Bob is being banned. So let's see which one logs out first. The other thing I'm going to do is turn the log level down, just because it's kind of unnecessary at this point. So I'm going to make it silent. And let's run the test. Can't see it, but the browsers are down here. So that ran as expected. Bob is there ran first, then Bob is being banned ran second. So that's good. Now, but it still looks like there's something going on in our test to where maybe when we click this, the host. you know what might be useful is a sibling selector. Wouldn't that be great? Yeah, I wonder if it has to do with the fact that I don't know. It seems like every time I run my test, it logs me out of here. So that might be something, which is weird. Okay, so host Bob. Okay, so I'm gonna inspect Bob. Okay, and then there's a link. I don't think we can use the sibling selector here because this isn't wrapped in a tag. I mean, it's wrapped in an LI, but that's shared. So that would just, I don't think that would work. Although I could possibly do this. Whoops. Element. So I'm going to get the Bob element here, and then I'm going to click the item inside of it. Yeah, that's what I want, because I've got the LI with Bob inside, and then I've got the link inside of that. Okay, so let's try that. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to debug at this point, so it's going to pause here. I'm going to validate that I'm still on the page and I'm still loaded in. Then we're going to click this remove, and then we're going to debug again, and then we're going to do the search for it. So let's see what goes on. And I wonder, yeah, when I click there, interesting. Maybe when I remove a player, let's see, if I refresh the page, oh, that could be what's going on, is that when I try going to this page, even though I'm in the same browser, it doesn't treat this as the same session. So that's just, that's what's going on. Pretty darn sure, because, well, the host would still be open at this point. So I don't know. This is a good multi-remote question. Let's run the test and see. I need to up my timeout, so I'm going to do Mocha Ops timeout, and that's going to allow me to wait a little bit longer, because usually I just get 10 seconds before the Mocha test fails. So I'm going to mark it much higher. These are milliseconds, and that's going to allow me to kind of take my time when I'm looking through all this. Okay, so it's going to start up, and it should display on this screen good. I'm going to move this over to the side so we can see both. So there's my host, then Bob's going to jump on. Now we're going to, okay, so this is the start of my test. You see it paused here, and I do have Bob, and that's good. So I can press enter, and it's going to, no, not enter. I used to be able to test enter. Oh, it looks like it's already failed the test. Element cannot be located on the page. Splash. Oh. I'm looking at the wrong failure here. It's saying that it can't find this element. That's very strange. Okay, let's close out of that. Interesting. Huh. Close out of all of that. It closes out of everything. And I guess I'm going to run this again, this time skipping this last test. So weird that it worked and now it doesn't seem to want to work anymore. See, it's fine here. What happens if I don't click and I just do the exact same code that I had before? it still could be running this fourth test before it's running the third one. That is really weird. There's Bob. Bob is there. What in the world is going on? This is one of those problems that we'll spend hours just trying to figure out, which makes it difficult to do on a live stream because I don't want to waste everybody's time. There's Bob. There's Bob. Let's see how it did. Whoops. How'd you do? You passed. You passed. Well, okay. No, this would fail. That makes sense. So, yeah, that's why that failed. Okay. So, these tests still passed. This should actually be true. I should have caught that. I don't think I'm going to get to page objects. Maybe I'll save that for next time. I don't know, I've already done one on page objects, but it wouldn't be bad to go back again, especially with this generic page object kind of concept. Okay, so it's there. Now, let's see how this goes through. That's Bob. Tries to remove it. Looking for Bob. Bob is there. Removing Bob. Bob removed. I am so confused. So it's throwing an error. Spyfall should allow host to remove Bob from game. So it's on here. Maybe, oh man, I was looking at the wrong test this entire time. Oh man. Told you, I've just... Yes, it does look like it reset the game when I removed Bob, which is really weird. Why would it have done that? Because in my manual game, like, it's still there even though I clicked him. Let's add Bob back to this game. And then when I click remove, it's still there. So it should be fine. Let's throw a browser debug here. And then the other thing I'll do is if this doesn't return what I like, I think I'll throw in before that and try running this command inside the browser debug just to see what's going on. I wonder if that access code is the same. What did we have? Like VX something? No, it's a different access code. So right there, when it removes Bob, it kicks me out of the game. I wonder if these are sharing the same session. Because these are both Chrome. Because what I'm doing here is I've got a guest account and then I've got my generic other account. And so when I'm removing Bob from the game, so if I try to join this game on the same account, Bob, then it says that I have both. And then when I remove, It removes Bob, but it doesn't remove me. No, that doesn't seem to be it. Although I am removed from the game. Anytime you refresh the page, you get removed. So before I click that, what happens? I may need to use two separate browsers for this. Really hoping I can figure this out today. So here I am stopped. I'll just click that. And it, yeah, as soon as I click it, it gets rid of it. That's weird. And it doesn't happen in this instance. New game. Host. Create. There's my access code. So instead of going straight to that access code, I'm going to do like I do in the test and pass that access code in. Join game, access code. Here's Bob. Join. Now I'm here, and if I hit X, it's different. So apparently when you join in via there, it ties it to that session. So I would need to use a new session in my multi-remote. Let me see about that. If I used a different browser, that would work fine. But what I really like to use Chrome in both, just because I have issues with my Firefox browser. But the question is, can I... Multi-remote is not meant to execute all your tests in parallel. It should be coordinate more than one browser. Sorry, I saw parallel and I thought that was talking about the first question that I had about does it run all of your tests one after another instead of like normal where it tries to stagger them so that you don't have to worry about that. But I guess if they're in the same test suite, maybe it won't. Okay, let's get into desired capabilities and see if I can define a way of saying that I want this to be on a certain account. I could set incognito as a capability. I think I've seen that done before, and you pass it in via a Chrome capability. So if I jump into here, there are many things. So there's my browser name, my version platform, web storage. Yeah, here are my Chrome ones. IE. And I'm going to look real quick at this, and I want to see what appears in the top right corner of like up here of the Chrome window. And what do we have? We have nothing. This is just you. So basically, it's just a generic one. So yeah, let's just do incognito. That should work just fine. So I'm going to quit out of that. And then for my options, this is a little bit different, but in no Chrome options. Oh, no. I was expecting it to be in here, but it is not. Chrome incognito. If I could spell capabilities correctly, that would help. So in here, you're defining Chrome options, and you pass in -incognito. It's a little bit different in the way that you set it up in the configuration, in that there is no like Chrome options object. This is Java, the way you do it in Java. But I believe in WebdriverIO you can pass in some extra parameters. Where is that information? Desired capabilities. Maybe they have it in their platform configurator. I could also just throw this into like a Phantom.js thing if I wanted to. Let's do that. And then I'm going to go with Chrome 55. And then here's the advanced. No, it's not in there. Okay. Desired capabilities, page load strategy. I know that there's a way that you can pass this in. I'm quite certain of it. Okay, WebdriverIO. Custom reporter, multi-remote. No. Those are just basic ones. Okay, I think just for the sake of brevity, I'm going to switch this over to Phantom. Phantom.js is basically Chrome. That's just a headless browser, so it doesn't appear when it goes. And I'm pretty sure I have Phantom installed, so I'm going to cross my fingers that this works. And let's double check. And what's funny, it's going to try and go into debug in here. And that won't be good because there's nothing, it doesn't open in Phantom because Phantom doesn't have a visual side to it. So I'll just hit enter. So that was 2 failures. So this should have been false. Okay, let's try this one more time with that debug out of there because I think that's what makes it fail. Maybe. There's the host, and then we should see Bob join. Okay, and it still logged me out. How strange. Okay, I got a tip from somebody to use. Sorry, keep the browser name Chrome. This. Chrome options is what I was looking for. Make sure I get all my parens. Fine. Okay. Let's try that. Oh boy. Oh, I need a comma. If this doesn't work, I'm just going to call it and say that I need to do some more research into it. So there's Bob. Click Bob and it gets rid of it. So I got to figure out what's going on there. You know, I want to try one last thing. I'm going to try one last thing, but it's not actually going to be as part of the test. It's just going to be to see how it works. So here's the host, creating a new game. And then over here, we're going to join a game. Bob's going to join. And then I'm going to click. This might just be a bug in the program. And to confirm that it's not just the fact that it's all in Chrome, I'm going to throw in a Firefox browser and see if I can make this work. Okay, so I'm going to go back, new game. There's the host. I'm going to join that. I'm going to join a game as Bob. Join, and then if I click X, ha! That's really interesting. Is it if I have 3? Maybe. So here's the host. If I have 3 players, let's see. So I'm going to join a game. So we're going to have the host. We're going to have Bob. And then let's get join a game. Let's get Julie involved. Join. Now if I remove Bob, it kicks me out. I think I found a bug on the Spyfall website. Let's see if there's an issue. Too much of the player's database is exposed. First player kicked if immediately removes another player. Look at that. Wow. Okay. So our test caught a problem. I just didn't trust my test enough to know that it's an issue, but that's that. So looks like our tests are working just fine. And it's an actual thing. Maybe I'll post this video on there to show how it works in real life, that it's able to recreate it. I wonder if it would also happen if, let's see, so Julie's still there. Let's get Bob to join back up. So Julie is still there. If I remove Bob at this point, then it stays. If I remove Julie, then it stays. That is so funny. Okay, well, that's that. I may jump back into page objects next time to see how we can make these players be a page object that you would say, instead of doing something like this, you would say new player, and then you would pass in the player's name, Bob, and then you do something like create, and it would do that, or you would join, and you would you'd pass in your key or whatever and things like that. But yeah, I tried manually recreating the issue when it first came up, and I couldn't get it to happen, but that was because I was pasting in directly the URL here and then having Bob join there. And when I click that, it doesn't remove me. But if you join via the join game interface, paste the access code and hit join, and then you remove, then it works fine. I don't know. That's what was happening. Sorry, I'm responding to people on chat if you don't know, but that's what's going on. So yeah, a way to do something kind of like this. So you would say variable Bob's equal to new player, and then you'd have like Bob.join, and then Bob.remove player, something like that. Tom, just page objects for that. So it's a little bit cleaner test-wise and everything like that. But for now, I'm going to leave it at that. And then I'm going to finish off by saying that I finished the last video, which is basically these generic page objects in my course on WebdriverIO, and I actually messed up on that, so I need to go back and re-record it. But overall, the first, basically the starter kit is completed. So I've got it on the launch price right now, and I'm going to be doing some giveaways at some point in the near future. And then after I finish with that, I'm also rewriting visual regression testing.com. Rewriting this free email course on WebDriver CSS and trying to figure out what to do with it, because WebDriver CSS is kind of in a funky state right now where you can use it, but it's not fully compatible with WebDriver 4. You can use it. I had some issues with assertions, using assertions in it, so I'm kind of trying to rework the content in this. When I wrote this, it was for WebDriver 2 and the version of WebDriver CSS at that point. And then there's also WebdriverIO screenshot that's out there and things like that. So I am working on this. Once I get done with rewriting this, I will get back to the rest of these videos and hopefully have them done by summer. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next week.